So is it really possible to create and grow a business that feels like freedom in the process and lead from the place of freedom? And in this episode specifically, I want to talk about getting clients, about client acquisition, and about my observations, how certain people, very successful people, do that, and the difference between how they do that and the rest of the entrepreneurs. And welcome to the From Grind to Grace show, the show for the alternative entrepreneur, the entrepreneur who is ready to challenge the norms, flip the script, and choose freedom first. When freedom is not a destination, when freedom is the path. And the premise is really that freedom being the path is the only path that is going to get you what you want while enjoying it all. And so really the mission is to make this the new standard, to make this the default in our industry, especially for female entrepreneurs. Because freedom is your birthright. And you are not meant to earn freedom or to grind for freedom. You are meant to create from freedom. The question is, the big question is, how on earth can it be achieved? And so on this episode today, it's only myself. I've no guests. And this episode today is going to be a little more sort of like strategic, tactical, a little bit more about how to do things, specifically how to get clients, how to acquire aligned clients, and how to do it without the grind. Because let's be honest, most entrepreneurs work really hard to get every client. I talk to them every single day and I hear the same story. It's like this big deja vu in the industry. Almost every single day, I talk to people who are telling me the same story. I bought so many courses. I've been in so many programs. I've learned so many strategies. I've tried so many things. I've tried different platforms. I've tried different scripts and plans and whatever. All those things. And yet I'm scrambling. I'm busy. Things are not happening. If I get a client today, I don't know when the next one is coming and from where. My content doesn't seem to resonate with people. I tried these workshops and I tried these VSLs, video sales letters, and I've tried this and that and whatever, and I'm still where I was like a year, 2 years, sometimes 3 years ago, if they are still in the game. Such a familiar story, right? So for me, actually, this story also is quite similar, except the fact that I am actually a marketer and I'm actually an expert in marketing, copywriting, and selling. And these things are part of my profession, part of what I do for myself and for other people. And so obviously over the years, I've gone through so many different strategies and methods and tried so many different things and tactics and worked with so many people. And at some point, I started seeing a pattern, and I started seeing what successful people are doing, and I call them wealth creators, the real wealth creators, as opposed to what I call wealth chasers are doing. Now, that is not to say that being a wealth chaser is someone's fault. No, actually, you know what? I'm here to throw rocks at the industry, at the way people are told to do things. And so what I noticed that wealth creators have actually seen through what are the gaps in the industry and what's wrong. And they do a couple of things differently. And even for me as a sworn marketing expert, when I stumbled upon these ideas and these philosophies of getting clients, even for me, it was a surprise. It was so obvious at the same time, but it was a surprise, but it was also a relief in a way, because all the years in marketing and selling, I had been subconsciously looking for better, more efficient ways. And I actually have to be honest, I had, those things, imposter syndrome, self-doubt, those kind of things, because I did not feel that the strategies that I was using and teaching to others were the most efficient, the fastest, the easiest strategies. So I just kept looking for different strategies without necessarily even realizing that. So on this episode today, I would like to talk about a couple of things that wealth creators do differently, because they have understood what it really takes to get clients, and specifically get clients in bulk, in big ways, so that you don't have to do it all the time, so that you do it, on a regular basis, at, whatever time intervals you prefer, or you decide what is enough for you. But the very idea of being able to activate your client acquisition on demand at any time, knowing that you're gonna end up with a spike of revenue in your business, that is what wealth creators are doing different. They know how to do it. While wealth chasers, they are grinding, working hard. They are devoted entrepreneurs. I see so many entrepreneurs who are still here years later, even if they are struggling, because they are devoted to the idea of creating freedom, their own economy, autonomy, those things. Wealth creators, what I see in their business is usually these big spikes. They kind of go from nothing or very little to huge amounts of clients, huge revenue, and they just take off. So everything is very funny, actually, because it has to do with what you might already know, the be, do, have principle, meaning you need to be the person who can do the thing to have what you desire. And so what I've realized is that wealth creators understand the be and the do parts differently. So let's dive into that. So let's first address the do piece. And the do piece has to do with what you do to sell, to acquire clients. Now, what is interesting is that it doesn't really matter what you do if your methods do not match up to the wealth creation level. Yes, there is such a thing that is called wealth creation level. What does that mean? That means if you are doing a lot of little things, if you are busy with a lot of small actions that carry, each of them carries little value, you'll end up working more. You'll end up trying to be everywhere, omnipresent, be on every platform, hire a VA to multiply your content and put it everywhere. Be consistent, post something every day, build audience one by one, all those kind of things. And the problem is that really in our industry, what is value is understood incorrectly. It was quite an interesting thing for me to realize, quite a shocking freaking thing to understand. So you might have heard that your rewards are in direct proportion to the value you deliver to the marketplace. That makes sense. Now, question is, what is value? And so the way most people understand value is various steps, various tips, tricks, hacks, methods, tactics, processes, something that is actionable. Well, that's not exactly how it works. It is so funny. And I used to do those things as well. I used to think that was gonna deliver value to the marketplace, that what was gonna attract people to me. I was wrong. And therefore, when I was doing that, I was grinding. I used to create videos. I used to follow some frameworks where when I was creating 7 videos a week, every single day, I used to go live on Facebook. And regardless of where I was, at home, on holidays, I remember family holidays in Malaga, I remember family holidays in Tenerife, and I kept working. I used to bring my laptop with me and work and grind and be consistent. That's what I was taught. Be consistent. Build up the momentum. Once you build up the momentum, you don't want to lose it because things are going to start going sideways if you are not directly involved. Well, that doesn't have to be that way. You know, when you have, if you can compare processed food to natural food, let's say your processed, partially made stuff like lasagna, like, I don't know, chicken. I don't eat it, so I'm not very well informed, but you know, if you go to a supermarket and look at those fridges stuffed with bags of pre-made food, processed food, when you think about the process of making that happen, I don't know, whatever is going on in those factories, and you know, there's a process. There is a process to make that happen, then to package, then to freeze, then to bring to the shop, you know, long process. And when you look at the list of the ingredients on of that food, there's usually dozens of ingredients. A lot of them you don't even know what they mean. There's some weird terminology, and also there's some dodgy stuff, you know, with starting with the E, some codes, whatever. So much energy, effort goes into creating something that ultimately then doesn't bring that much value on your table, right? It does not bring that much value to you. That food, if you keep eating that food alone, you probably know what is going to happen. Eventually you'll end up nutrient deprived, maybe overweight. Basically, that food is full of empty calories. That food might leave you bloated. That food is not very often, as I imagine, is not even that satisfying to be consumed. It leaves you stuffed, but not necessarily satisfied in terms of the taste and the flavors, how it feels on your palate, right? But take something as simple as avocado toast. It's simple. It's not processed. The nutritional value, huge. The colors, the smell, the taste, the satisfaction of that simplicity, nothing like that processed food from the freezer in the supermarket. Nothing like that. Simple, powerful. Guess what? Client acquisition actually works the same way. When you sell something, it's so important to put on the table unprocessed value. Now, what is it? What do I mean by that? Unprocessed value when it comes to marketing and selling. Well, you see those tactics and methods and strategies, they are actually quite far removed. Just like that processed food removes the value from what you originally intended. Remove the nutrients. You work very hard to put a marketing campaign together, maybe a couple of months, if it's a real, like, good one, right? And it will do some job. And yet it's not gonna deliver as much value as you otherwise could. And also the other thing about this industry is that everyone is chasing tangible stuff. And I understand why that is. Our subconsciousness needs to paint a picture. You need to paint a picture for your subconsciousness to understand what you are getting. But everybody is so obsessed about measuring everything that somewhere along the line, they lose the value of what was initially intended. And the value really that people crave has nothing to do with the steps and with the processes. The value comes from helping people change their lives, from changing how they think, from changing how they think about themselves, what they believe about themselves. Those steps and tactics are usually so short-lived as well. They are relevant today, but they might not be relevant tomorrow. Look at the frequency of how social media algorithms changed. And so if you're somebody who is relying on the algorithms, you'll be trying to catch up with the changes all the time. Guess what? Along the way, you are going to forget about why the hell you are doing it in the first place. You might have started with a big idea, with something huge that you wanted everyone to hear about. But then you got involved into these low-level tactics, chasing these algorithms, learning all these strategies, squeezing your big idea into some frameworks, and lost track of what you initially intended. And that's when whatever you intended is not reaching your audience. So you are not delivering the real value, the value that people subconsciously are craving for. Right? There is this problem. How do you measure these big ideas? These things around, infusing people with, empowering people, inspiring them. How do you measure that? Yes, it is tricky, but also there is a way. And, when you deviate from what you originally intended, from that big idea, that inspiration that was driving you initially to do what you are doing, your offers suffer. You don't put that meaning in your offers because you are following some frameworks. The way you put your sales message together suffers. You are not saying the right things in your sales message. And also the way you sell, the way you deliver your message. I've seen so many ways. Excuse me. Most people, when they sell, there's the very act of selling is weak. In fact, I have a name for it. I call it sales value leak. And you don't translate the value that you originally intended, the big idea that you wanted to put on the table, you don't translate it correctly to your offers, to your sales message and to the way you deliver that message. And let me tell you, just the sales message alone and the way you sell, the way you deliver your message can massively increase the value of your offer legitimately. I'm not talking about tricking anyone into your offers. I'm talking about how you deliver your sales message, that it will further increase the value of your offer. So how you sell actually matters too. So wealth creators have understood that. If you listen to folks like Tony Robbins, what is he selling? Is he selling? Like, if you've gone to some of his events, is he selling anything, like actively selling? You wouldn't think so, but he is. Those massive, I remember there was an event he did with Dean Graziosi, I don't know, was it like a year and a half ago, something like that, massive, with millions of people on Zoom. And they were actually selling, but you wouldn't tell that. Selling itself felt like service. Selling itself was very transformational. And that's what I'm talking about. These people have understood how actually make selling itself so valuable that people do not have any other option other than wanting to work with you. You change lives just by selling. You can change lives just by selling alone. And when you do that, people want more of you. That's when people really see the value. So the doing piece, actually how you sell, for most people in the industry, for most entrepreneurs in the industry, it has this sales value leak problem. So that's one thing. Now, the other piece is the do piece, the B piece, the B piece. And this is very interesting, right? If you have been an entrepreneur for a while, you've probably done a lot of personal development, like myself. There is this saying in our industry, if you want personal growth, start a business. It's so true. And so here is the deal. It does not matter how much personal development you do if what you do doesn't match up to wealth creation level. In order to create wealth, in order to do the things that I was talking about before, you need to become the kind of person who matches up to wealth creation level. What does that mean? So I bet you've done all sorts of things like, trying to become that person by convincing yourself you can do it, forcing through hard gripping, chest gripping anxiety, and telling yourself, I'm going to take massive action today. And you do take massive action. And then what happens a few days later? Well, it wears out. Why? Because, and I use this metaphor sometimes, Because that kind of becoming the person who can do the thing is a bit like gluing wings on a caterpillar and expecting it to start flying from flower to flower. It's not real, it's surface level. It's just convincing yourself, and convincing yourself and actually embodying that person are two different things. And that's what wealth creators know. Do you think wealth creators force a reaction? If you think about multi-seven-figure earner, do you think they achieved it through forcing every single action every day, sacrificing everything? No, it's actually the opposite. When I look at them, they often look like they're not even doing anything. Or if they're doing something, they're enjoying it like crazy. They're happy. They're excited. You know why? I realized what happened there happened for me as well. They rely on themselves first. They lead with themselves first. It's like they are executing their assignment. Yes, methods, strategies, the do piece matters, but only after you are actually connected with yourself properly. It was a big problem for me. So this piece was the last piece that I covered a while ago. And I felt something was disconnected. I knew there was a disconnect deep down, and it really pissed me off. It made me sad, different emotions on different days, right? Pissed me off one day, made me sad another day, made me frustrated another day. And I could not understand what the hell is going on. And then eventually I did. I did. You have been distracted from you. This industry, the way we do things here, the way our society works, distracted you from you. Distracted you from the person generating value. So it's about the internal value. Now, isn't it so obvious? If you do not feel, and I know that a lot of people don't, a lot of entrepreneurs don't because they have been distracted, but if you are disconnected from the value inside of you, how can you translate that into the marketplace? So actually the doing piece is translating the value that you have into the marketplace. But what are you translating if you don't feel it inside of you? So I call it internal value. How do you translate internal value into the external value if you don't know what internal value is? And that's the answer why these people like Tony Robbins and other thought leaders, other leaders and ultra successful entrepreneurs, look, they are always excited because they so believe in what they are doing. They are so connected with what they are doing. It's like their business is a mission. They are on a mission. They're not just running a business. They are on a mission. So the question is, what is your mission? Guess what? Selling is a social activity. It is, right? Selling comes through interaction with other people. You sell it to someone. That's why it's a social activity. What happens when you do not feel that you have value to put on the table? You subconsciously think that you're not giving enough. You think that you are not contributing enough. You somewhere deep down think that you are just taking, and you are not born to just take. It's a social activity. Selling is a social activity, which is why you need to feel that you are contributing and giving. Because back in the day, millions of years ago, your survival depended on it. And we still have that in our subconsciousness. You are still run by that survival mechanism. So you need to be dialed in with that value that you're putting on the table internally. But what happened is that you were distracted from it by chasing the external sources and resources, as I say it, meaning strategies, methods, frameworks. You rely on that more than your internal knowingness, meaning you are giving your power away to external things, which is why you doubt yourself, which is why you question every step and action, which is why you have this need for external validation, which is why you are weak when you are thinking about selling and rejection, which is why you need to build up this confidence thing before every activity that where you get exposed and where you get to interact with other people. And selling feels uncomfortable because it doesn't feel like you're giving. Do you imagine the feeling when you really embody that person who knows you are giving so much value to others that you don't really care about how others are gonna receive it? It's their problem. You are giving. It's for them to receive it or not. If they don't, you don't care because you know you deliver good things. And no, there is no one single thing in the world that everybody is going to receive. No, that's the reality. But it doesn't matter. What matters is how you feel about it. So before you go do the do piece, you absolutely need to sit in the be piece. And here is where we are coming to this point about freedom. Freedom first. Why? So if you want to create freedom in this external physical world, you need to start feeling free inside of you. And in order to achieve that, you need to stop. You need to stop, you need to pause, you need to embrace the gap. I don't know if I need to tell you that in order to get insights, become creative, you need to stop. You cannot do that when you are grinding. You cannot do that when you are consumed with self-doubt. What can you create when you are consumed with self-doubt? It's hard. Really, really hard. That's why you get frustrated when you try to create a piece of content and it's not coming the way you want. You know this. There are answers somewhere. You know that you know the answers somewhere. But if you are still sitting at your laptop trying to create a few sentences all day long, sometimes you'll be switching the words and shuffling and moving and tweaking. And it's never going to feel like this is it. This is it. This is really what represents me. So, really, you need to listen to yourself. And to listen to yourself, you need to freaking stop. I am a doer, right? I could discipline myself like crazy. And I was doing it for years. I got somewhere. Did I enjoy it? No. Did I sacrifice a lot of things? Personal life, social life, family life, peace, self-care. Did I? I did. Am I doing things differently now? Yes. Why? Because it's more productive. It's as simple as that. It is freaking more productive. I pause, I go rest. Guess what? Ideas start flowing. And what is left for me is to just sit down and write them down, turn them into a piece of content, turn them into a piece of, I don't know, turn them into a podcast episode. And I have to be honest, before I had to sit and do this episode first thing in the morning to stay in the mode of flow, because I could feel that my thinking mind was coming at me, was coming to get me. And if I had waited for another while, I wouldn't have recorded this probably, or another time, but I would be thinking about it all the time. So yes, it's not like, once you switch to the other mode, you stay there. No, we are so conditioned to do things differently that we need to intentionally reinforce that other way, embracing freedom first. And when you do, it's actually beautiful, because if something happens in your day that deviates from what you intended, it doesn't matter. You can go and live your life. And the beauty of it is that your mind, your head, mind, heart, energy is still working. Now, this is an important thing. If you do not feel the value, the internal value of what you do, if you don't feel it in your bones, that energy of not feeling it, of neediness, desperation, anxiety, and it seeps into everything, your offers, your messaging, your selling. People feel that we are connected. We have these detectors that we subconsciously feel others. And so if you stand in front of a room saying things when you feel shitty inside, guess what? Everyone is feeling shitty. You've heard people who sound awkward, and you felt awkward yourself, and you were like, oh my God, I wish this person could relax. It's so uncomfortable to listen to somebody who is feeling awkward in that moment. So the do piece really is about creating leverage through delivering massive value not being steps or tactics, value being transformational, So then you can do less. You can only do a few things, and each of which will deliver so much value that it will create huge leverage. And the being piece is not about convincing yourself, it's about embodying so that you generate the energy required to first pull you so that the whole process feels effortless. And second, to infuse your offers, your messaging, and the way you sell with the energy that will infect others in a good way. So that is how you create a quantum leap. What you're doing with leverage and how you are being, the energy. Those two things create a quantum leap. Quantum leap is a massive increase, advance without any like obvious effort. That's what a quantum leap is. And that's what I am so passionate about when I unpeel these layers and when I learned what creates a quantum leap, it was like, oh my God, like it's a different world. And where was I before? You know? So I hope this was useful to you, valuable. I hope this message is gonna get you thinking differently and get you to reevaluate what you do and how you do. But first of all, I want you to sit down and really be with yourself and see yourself differently. There is no point to take massive action if that massive action is not filled with the right energy. Just simply no point. You will be wasting time. Anyway, if this was useful, follow, share. By sharing my podcast, we'll be spreading this message. And that's how we will be going to, working with our mission to make this the new standards in the industry. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye.